At one point, most of those players were injured.
I know. None of
What's
them were
up,
on the
faithful?
field.
Welcome to the East Coast Red and Gold podcast. I'm Niners Jess, along with Ty Alston, Maddie B, and Niner Lady Dina. And we have special guests from NBC Sports Bay Area, Matt Maiocco. Matt, welcome back.
Thank you. So much time had gone by since my last invite. I thought maybe I said something wrong. Maybe you're punishing me.
No, not at all. Not at all. We love, besides the Hall of Fame with Roger Craig, we love having you on.
Yeah. Don't hold me responsible for that.
I know.
Although this is the closest he's made it, we'll see what happens. But I know I always see you guys on the road. This year I'm in studio. They won't let me out in public anymore. So that's one of the things that I've missed. I haven't missed too much about not traveling, but checking in with the faithful and seeing all the 49er fans and familiar faces across the country. That's probably the one thing that I miss the most about being in studio full time.
Yeah, we miss seeing you on the sideline. I miss yelling your name when I'm at the game.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you about that. Like, what were some of the drawbacks? So you just answered that. Well done. That was very prescient of you.
That's why he's the best in the business.
That's the drawback. But honestly, it's kind of neat. I mean, I've covered the team for 30 years, where I was traveling every game, home and away. A number of different countries as well. And so after a while, I knew at some point I wanted to just kind of scale that back and be studio. And the opportunity came open this year, and I was like, you know what, might as well do this. So I've seen a lot. It's kind of funny. Late last season, when the 49ers played in Buffalo, that was like the only real snow game that I've covered, where you had to get people out, between series and take the snow shovel to the yard lines and just getting in and out of that stadium. It was such a neat experience. And that was almost like the last thing that I could kind of check off. Like, okay, now I've actually been to a snow game, and it was kind of neat. And I haven't missed too much. I'm not a big FOMO guy. I've enjoyed sleeping in my own bed. I enjoy, getting home on Sunday night at a reasonable hour. So it's all been good. Mostly been good.
So how was your bye week here on the East Coast?
It was fantastic. We went, a group of friends. We live in the La Miranda area of the Bay Area, Lafayette, Moraga, Orinda. And so we have like a group of our friends. We're big St. Mary's basketball fans. Mm-hmm. And so we've kind of over the last few years kind of started like doing like little couples getaways to go to some place we hadn't been and watch basketball and connect. And so we did it this last weekend. We left for Asheville. Well, we flew into Charlotte, went to Asheville, North Carolina for a couple nights, saw some live music, went to some great breweries in Asheville, and then went to Davidson and spent 2 nights in Davidson and went to the St. Mary's Davidson game. So it was really a lot of fun. And our little group, just 6 of us, and then of course pick up some stragglers, other St. Mary's people along the way. But it was a lot of fun, really neat bye-week getaway.
Cool. All right. So before we get to the Titans matchup, let's talk a little Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. For those that don't know, explain your role with the Hall of Fame.
So I forget how many years I've been doing this. I think maybe 7. I was asked by the Pro Football Hall of Fame to be the 49ers representative. The way it's structured, there's only 50 voters for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and 32 of them, in essence, kind of represent every team, or a media member that covers every team. And then there's 18 at large, national reporters, some Hall of Famers, Bill Polian, James Lofton, Dan Fouts, and I think maybe a couple football historians, that kind of thing. And so I'm one of 50 voters who has a say in who gets through. And just before we talk about Frank and Roger Craig and anybody else, I will say the last year was the first year they changed kind of the process and the voting. I think that Deion Sanders a couple of years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, he made the comment like there should be, I forget how, 2 rooms or two stories of the Hall of Fame. The upper story should be the guys who really belong, like me, of course, and then the lesser guys on the lower level. And I don't know if the Pro Football Hall of Fame, the president says that wasn't what drove this, but I guess they just want to make it more elite, whatever that means. And so now it's just much more difficult to get in. You have more people kind of going against each other for more spots. And it used to be, a Hall of Fame class of 7 or 8 was a standard. Last year, I think the Hall of Fame class was 4, 3 modern era, and just 1 total from seniors, coach, and contributor. So it just makes it a lot more difficult. And it does raise the bar, but it ends up, I think, keeping worthy people out of the Hall of Fame more than it already has.
So how many can you vote for?
Well, right now I just turned in my ballot for the 15 finalists. So right now for the modern era, it's right now it's 25. And now this whole Phillip Rivers thing has kind of thrown a
monkey wrench
into this, because the bylaws state you have to be out of the game for 5 years before you're eligible. But if Phillip Rivers gets on the active roster of the Colts or plays in a game, that resets his time. And spoiler alert, I did have Phillip Rivers on my ballot for one of the 15 finalists. Okay, so last week we found out that the coach finalist, there's 2 different categories. Last week we found out the coach finalist was Belichick, the contributor Robert Kraft, and then the 3 seniors, Roger Craig, L.C. Greenwood, and Ken Anderson. So of those 5, can only vote for 3. And in order to get in, you have to have 80% or more of the vote. So last year, of those 5, only 1 senior got in, or 1 person total got in. That was Sterling Sharp. So my fear with Roger Craig is that everybody will vote for Belichick. And so that leaves 4 people with only 2 votes, 4 candidates, and each individual then would only have the 2 votes. And I think it would be almost impossible for anybody to get 80. I hope I'm wrong, but it seems like it would almost be impossible for anybody in that group to get 80% of the vote. So it's a totally a numbers game. I think, obviously I think Roger Craig is worthy. I would think that the voters think he's worthy, but do they think that 2 others are more worthy? And even if 75% of the people think that Roger Craig is worthy, that's not good enough to make it into the Hall of Fame. And then on the modern era side, what happens is the 15 finalists, of which I would assume and I hope that Frank Gore will be one of them. Then there's presentations made, and then there's a vote that kind of keeps cutting the group down. So the first vote will be pick 10 of the 15, and then the 10 move on to the next round. We vote again, and now you pick 7. And then of those 7, you can only vote for 5. And again, 80% is the standard, and 3 are guaranteed to get in. So even if 2 people have, even if nobody has 80% of the vote, it's the 3 top. But that's why the modern era group would always be 5 people, because we used to be able to vote down to 5, and then you just give an up or down on those 5. And at that point, it's basically a rubber stamp. If you're in that last 5, you get in. So now it's different, and they're just whittling down the number of people who go in. I do hope they change the bylaws here in the next year so that we don't see this log jam of worthy people still out there and not enough guys are getting in.
Yeah.
You know what it's like? It's kind of like the people who've got in, it's like they slammed the door behind them. You know, so it's like they're moving the goalposts. And so there's people, people who got in are worthy, but now it's even more difficult. And so I don't know. That's why I don't like it at all, because I think it's changing the rules. And the current group isn't playing by the same rules as the groups before.
Previous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Maddie, were you going to say something?
I was going to say, do you think that there's I know we talk about Belichick, and I find it fascinating that contributors, coaches, etc., are put in with players. It makes no sense. I don't understand why there's not different categories. Like, once again, common sense eludes us just in the pursuit of greatness. But do you think it's possible that Belichick burned enough bridges during his time that maybe some people just don't let him get in on the first ballot, kind of like what they do with Major League Baseball Hall of Famers?
I don't think so. I mean, I don't know for sure. I haven't had that conversation. I mean, it's an interesting question. But I think generally speaking, I know a lot of the guys who cover the Patriots, and I think a lot of these coaches, the persona is different than the reality. I mean, some of the guys that covered him that I know pretty well really got along with him and thought he was okay to cover. It's just kind of those clips. Kind of the same thing with like Bill Parcells back in the day.
Right.
Everybody saw the clips and thought, oh man, he must be brutal to cover. The fact of the matter was, from what I understand, most, if not everybody, who covered the Giants on a daily basis really got along well with him, and he got along well with them. It was just like, when the lights went on and the funny stuff or the kind of the gruff stuff. You do ask that question about the coach, contributor, and the players and the seniors being all in the same category. That's something new. It wasn't like that just up until last year. So, but I agree. I mean, I'm always going to err on the side of the player. If it comes down for me choosing between a coach and a player, I'm almost always going to go with the player. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, depending who you are. I mean, a Belichick he's like the biggest lock there is, just because of the resume and the Super Bowls, and heck, even what he did before that as a coordinator. So this is a tough year because of that, because of Belichick's on the ballot. This is a tough year, I think, for any senior to get to that 80% threshold with Belichick out there. The other question that you didn't ask would be, does his kind of S show at North Carolina
does it factor in?
That was kind of implied.
Yeah.
So thank you for pulling that out, Matt, because I was rather you saying that than me, because I don't want to get an Instagram DM from Jordan Hudson. We're both from Maine.
Yeah, who does?
Right?
Who
Like
does?
you can't, we have to stick together as Mainers.
No,
So I
we
just thank you for
definitely do.
mentioning that. Yes.
I mean, I guess the answer to that is it's not supposed to be a factor, because, and nobody has to give reasons for why they voted a certain way, but the Hall of Fame does make it clear that only professional football, it is the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So what you did in high school and Pop Warner and college doesn't have any impact, or shouldn't have any impact.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the 2025 San Francisco 49ers. Matt, are the Niners better than you expected this year?
No, but yes. Do you want me to explain?
Please.
I thought that they'd be right where they are. Right where they are. I thought they'd win the division before the season, and I thought that they would have Maybe the Rams are a little bit better than I thought, and maybe the Seahawks are a little bit better than I thought they'd be. But I thought the 49ers would be right here, 9-4. Now, if you had told me that this had happened, that had happened, this had happened, that had happened, I would have said, no way. And so they are better. The record of 9-4 is better than I would have expected had I known that Brock Purdy would miss 8 games, George Kittle would miss 5 games, Nick Bosa would be out for the year starting week 3, and Fred Warner would be out for the season starting week 6. If you'd told me all that, I would have said, no, I don't think so. They're just scrapping to hang on and get to the next season. So so that's my answer, is that yes, they are better than I thought they'd be, all things considered.
And who do you chalk that up to? You chalk that up to coaching, Kyle Shanahan, Robert Saleh?
Well, boy, it's all the above. And it even starts with the personnel department. I mean, there has not been, like, the thing that I thought that this team would really struggle with, especially after the first week of free agency, was if they had injuries. I didn't think they'd be able to recover from it. I didn't think that they would have much depth at all. And frankly, even with the injuries, they're moving, that train just keeps right on rolling. And, I don't even know. I mean, Tatum Bethune stepped in for Fred Warner. And of course, that's a downgrade, or, that's a step down. But the way Bethune played, it didn't really feel like it. I'd say that, the Bosa injury certainly hurt, because they really don't have an edge rusher who can impact a game like Nick Bosa. But I mean, even the Kittle injuries, with Jake Tonjes and Luke Farrell stepping up, with Mac Jones stepping in. So it starts there. And then, I put a lot on the players. I think the attitudes are really good. And I think that the guys who are called upon kind of took ownership of that thing, and the veteran leadership, I think, really helped bring those guys along. And then as far as the coaching, man, it's all the above. It's Kyle Shanahan, of course, but it's also, it's Robert Saleh, of course. But what about the job that Brant Boyer has done? The margin for error this season was, razor thin. And last year, the special teams were atrocious. And they did give Brant Boyer a lot of say. I wouldn't say he had carte blanche, but they did say, here's what's your wish list. And they brought in a new long snapper. They brought in a new kicker. They brought in a new punter. They brought in a new gunner. They brought in a lot of different areas to a new return specialist. They brought in new guys, and he had a vision where those guys fit. And it even continues this week. I mean, Garrett Wallow, who they claimed off of waivers, is a special teams guy. I don't know anything about him other than, he played special teams, and it's quite clear to me that Brant Boyer had a say in that. So, I think, the coaching deserves a lot of credit, but, the coaches are only good as the players and the buy-in from the players. So, if you give me one, I guess it'd be the coaching, having the vision for how to compensate for those losses, not putting the players in situations where they can't succeed. It's like going back to Mac Jones, finding, I guess it's all the above, finding a guy that fit the system, and then doing things or calling, putting together game plans and calling games that kind of accentuates his positives. So I think there's a lot of reasons why they're 9-4 right now. And I think that they can be better. I think that they can close out the season offensively better than what they have, score more points. Defense, I think, will be kind of a week to week thing, with Saleh kind of figuring out the right plan of attack against the opposing offense. And then we'll see, once the playoffs hit, and I do expect the 49ers to be in the playoffs, once the playoffs hit, and then it becomes matchups and just how you perform on that 1 3 hour, that 3 hour time frame, who you're facing.
Now the Niners are currently the 6th seed. If they win the next 3 out of 4 and LA and Green Bay lose a game, the game against Seattle will be for the number 1 seed. Where do you see them going?
I don't know. I probably just kind of staying where they are, I think. Yeah. I mean, I would think, right now, I think if the playoffs were to begin, they'd be going to Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I could see that. I could see that. Maybe they could, it's going to be tough for them to move past the Rams and the Seahawks. Maybe they get past one of those and get to the 5. I think they'll win this week. I think they should win in Indianapolis. The Bears are going to be tough in Seattle. It's possible week 18. I can't tell you which team it'll be, but it's possible either that game against Seattle means a lot as far as being the 5 seed as opposed to the 7 seed. It could be that one of the teams, regardless of how the game turns out, will stay wherever they are, will be guaranteed to stay wherever they are. And maybe they rest some guys, which makes it easier on the other team to either stay in the playoffs or improve their seeding. So there's a lot of this season has yet to be written. And this is really the fun time of year because, watching what unfolded on Sunday, you could just you see all the scenarios play out in front of you. So, my guess would be that the 49ers, the 3 teams in the NFC West get in. I can see the 49ers moving past Seattle because that's probably the easiest path. Seattle, faces the Rams, of course, and then week 18 at Levi Stadium. And then the North will be interesting because I think only 2 of those teams will get in. So who's it going to be? Is it going to be the Lions or the Bears? I don't know that both of them get in. I don't know. I think the Bears spot is very tenuous.
Can you explain to me why Christian McCaffrey's not in the MVP conversation? Because earlier this season, people couldn't stop. When Jonathan Taylor got off to a hot start, they're like, boy, Saquon Barkley really opened it up last year. Maybe Jonathan Taylor should be the MVP. And then he kind of fell off. Meanwhile, really the only consistent on this offense all year has been Christian McCaffrey. Everything runs through Christian McCaffrey. And there's nothing. There's no mention. It's just quarterback.
Quarterback. It seems like it seems like almost the quarterback is going to be the MVP. Quarterback of the best team or the quarterback who had the best year on a good team is the MVP, and then the top of the other positions, the wide receiver or the running back is the offensive player of the year.
Yeah.
That's what Christian McCaffrey won in 2023. My guess would be that McCaffrey isn't getting. And this might change over the last month of the season, of course, because they are on prime time twice, right?
Yep.
Yeah. And then they're on prime time twice, and then we'll see how week 18 is. That could get flexed.
That could be flexed.
Yeah. So my thought would be that we'll, up to this point, it just feels like the 49ers haven't had a whole lot of prime time opportunities. So maybe that changes something. But my guess as far as why Christian McCaffrey isn't put up there in that regard is because of the yards per carry just isn't, it's not eye popping. It's not Christian McCaffrey like, but if he's closing in on that 1,000, then it'll be really difficult. If he gets 1,000, it'll be, I would think he would be at the top of, darn near every ballot when it comes to offensive player of the year. But I think that 49ers need, or he needs to get that rushing average up there, past 4 for that to be kind of a slam dunk.
So you're thinking like if they got thousand, let's say they make a run, they go 4-0,
Yeah.
and then they just happen to they get the 1 seed, just
Mhm.
blessed be, right? He gets a 1 seed and the 1,000, even then, probably not.
Oh no, I think at that point, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah?
No, I
Okay.
think thousand makes that happen, because that will be talked about so much, in at least the 2 primetime games. I would think thousand would. I mean, have to see what else is happening around the league. I don't know what the numbers are for Jackson Smith and Jigba right now, but he would certainly be in the conversation for the offensive player of the year. But are you talking offensive player of the year or MVP?
No, I was talking
Okay.
MVP. Like
the
offensive
MVP.
player of the year is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
That's like congratulations, you won a Silver Slugger, right? Like,
Yeah.
hey,
Well,
like
it's still a big deal.
it just seems to me like we've given up. Like we just we don't credit running backs anymore for anything. And I don't get it, because it seems like 2022, 2023, the entire offense started to run through Christian McCaffrey, and all of a sudden this team was like, oh hey. And it doesn't seem like he gets his due for that. And I've always wondered why. So thank you for answering that question.
Well, and I do think too, the way the league views running back. Remember, was that leading into the 2023 season? I think it was like 2022, 2023, those off seasons. Running backs were so clearly devalued around the NFL, and that was one of the big storylines about that running backs were just kind of disposable. Nobody was signing running back to a big contract, and so I think that those cues are kind of picked up on by maybe the voters, the people who have a say in there, and it's kind of seen like, if you're a running back, the running backs are a dime a dozen. It's the quarterbacks who are are getting the big money. They're getting the 45 to now $60 million contract. So I think in a lot of ways that cue was kind of put into place by the NFL teams, the general managers, the people who pay those contracts.
So you're filling in for Papa with sitting down with Kyle Shanahan. What are your thoughts on Kyle Shanahan, coach of the year? I mean, does he think about things like that? And what's his X's and O's mind like to sit down with him?
I don't know. I kind of doubt that he thinks about that. And from again, I think that it would be difficult for him to get it, because I think there's this mindset of, even though the 49ers had a 6-11 record last year, I think the 49ers are generally thought of, over the past 5-6 years as being, a top team in the NFL. And because even with the injuries that I spoke of earlier, I don't think that people necessarily see that as being out of the ordinary. But what other teams have done, Liam Cohen with the Jaguars, Mike Vrabel with New England, Ben Johnson with the Bears. I think those are the ones where people look at and go, wow, like look where those teams came from in a short period of time with a coach. And, people might even say, again, I'm projecting here, I don't know, but like, well, all the coaches I just referenced are first year coaches with their teams. And so they're basically cleaning up the mess of another staff. Whereas somebody might look at the 49ers and go, yeah, the 49ers are better than we thought and better than, they probably should be. But, the bad year last year, he was the coach of that team last year. So that would be my guess, just kind of an objective look at why I think those others. I mean, if you look at the MVP or look at the coach of the year odds, Shanahan's far down, because I did this a couple of weeks ago where I like, I want to see what the Vegas has as the odds, and I guess without really even thinking about it, I thought, oh, Shanahan's got to be the front runner, right? And then I looked at like he was like fifth or sixth, and I was like, oh, now why is that? And I look at the people in front of him and go, okay, I guess that makes sense. Shanahan he's a very thoughtful guy as far as putting together game plans, articulating game plans. We don't this over the past couple of months. I've tried to kind of every week kind of get him on a talking philosophy a little bit. I don't want to get into just the nuts and bolts of the upcoming opponent and what's it going to be like to face Cam Ward. And I'm sure I'll ask that question this week, but something along those lines. But I do want to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and get inside his mind about why they do certain things. I don't know if you saw the interview I did a couple weeks ago when he explained the whole CAN system. Have you heard that? It was coming off of the game against, was it Arizona? Yeah, I think it was the game against Arizona where the touchdown pass to Kittle early on, Brock Purdy's, I think it was the first drive of the game. And Brock Purdy, you could hear him, canning the play. And so I kind of went through that, like what's happening there. And it was just kind of interesting. I mean, I knew that this stuff existed, but he's very good about, there's no competitive advantage. All these teams are doing it. And so, like he gives them 2 plays in the huddle. He even told me what the 2 plays were and what Brock Purdy saw. He didn't go specifics because he said for each play where you have a can, like this is the play, but you can check into this play if they give him one indicator. And I don't know what that indicator was for that particular play, but it was an indicator that told Purdy that they're going to be in man coverage. And speaking of Greg Papa rewatched that thing over and over, and he couldn't figure out what told Brock Purdy that they were going to be in man coverage. But there was one very specific thing that Brock was looking for, and he canned the original call and went to Kittle up top against single coverage and scored a touchdown. So one of the things I asked, I asked him flat out, it's like, are you giving away, state secrets here? And he's like, absolutely not. He goes, every team does this. And then I think later, I did ask him I was trying to think if I asked him after the show or before the show or on the show, but I think I asked him on the show, like, well, when you check out of the original play and go to the second play, how often does the defense do the same thing? Oh, we're showing this coverage. They checked out of the play to take advantage of our coverage. Let's check into another defense and try to screw them up. And he said it happens all the time, but a lot of times, if a team does that all the time, then the Forairs would know when they come to the line of scrimmage, when they check out of a play, oh, they're going to be in this defense. The other thing that happens is, the communication on the defensive side is such that if you have guys, if there's confusion on defense, boom, it's a touchdown. So those are the kinds of things that I enjoy talking to Shanahan about. And he seems very open about sharing that information or just kind of, letting people know kind of the game behind the game.
Matt, please send prayers to Greg for us.
I definitely will.
Yes.
One more for me. Do you think Fred Warner will be back at some point?
Oh, that's a great question. Gosh, I don't think so. I think that he's going to try. He's in John Lynch's ear every day that he's going to be ready. But I do think that there is this element where the 49ers have to protect him from himself. And I think that there's a bigger picture here. Fred Warner is definitely on the Hall of Fame track. And I don't think that what John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are very secure in their jobs. It's why at the NFL trading deadline, They didn't feel like they had to go out and give up a 3rd-round pick or a 2nd-round pick to get somebody who could only help them this year because they're coaching and general managing for their futures. They know they're going to be around, so they want to build it out the right way. They don't want to mortgage the future. Sometimes, if there's a Christian McCaffrey out there, heck yeah, they're going to go get him. But because they're playing the long game, I think that they're going to err on the side of caution with Fred Warner. I say all that, and would I be surprised if he's out there?
Yeah, exactly.
Or make it to the NFC Championship game or the Super Bowl? I would not at all be surprised. But the way John said was that the doctors believe it's basically on the wrong side of that time frame for him to get out there. But so yeah, I think it'd be a difficult decision. It'd be hard to have that conversation with Fred, but I don't see them risking anything with Fred Warner.
All right. Anything else, guys?
I just want to
Brandon.
follow up on that kind of like
What was that?
in terms of those medical decisions. Is the team following, the guidelines of the doctors, or do they sometimes make a rush decision and put a guy out there before they're ready? Because we've seen this happen in the past where a guy's out there and he's clearly still injured. He shouldn't be out there. Like, who makes that final decision?
I do think. Well, I think the final decision would have to be jointly done by John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Now, I think that they don't ever overrule a doctor, like, I don't think, or the medical staff. But I think there are times when there is gray area. There are times when the doctor will say, well, he could play if you need him. And then they'd have to weigh like, well, what's the risk of re-injuring or making this thing worse? But I don't think that they would. It just doesn't seem like something that they would do where the doctors are saying, you know what, it would be close, but let's hold him out another week. And, and Shanahan and Lynch go, nope, we need him in right now. So we're going to roll with it. I don't see that ever happening.
Take that, 49ers Twitter.
I mean, that just wouldn't be very smart. Let's face it, that wouldn't be very smart at all. So, the one thing that I would say, like with the Brock Purdy situation, when he came back week 4? He came back week 4 against Jacksonville. He felt like he was ready to go. He said even after the fact, I mean, what else is he going to say? But after the fact, he said that he didn't think he was rushing it, but just that he got kind of caught in a bad situation and aggravated that toe injury in that game. But I'm sure that was something, there's MRIs can say one thing, whatever, X-rays, imaging can say one thing, but if the player himself, if nothing shows up where, okay, well, it looks like it's okay, only the player knows how he feels. And, I was hearing at that time, even the week leading up to it, I forget, let's say the second game was against, help me out, the Saints. I mean, I was hearing that there was a chance he could even come back for that Cardinals game. And they didn't. They decided to hold off another week and have him out there for Jacksonville. So I don't know if that's the one you're talking about, Ty, like, the one where it looked like he was rushed back.
Yeah.
I think he was fully cleared by the medical staff. And then it became like, how confident are you, Brock, that you can do this?
All right. Matt Maiocco. Thank you so much. And I promise we will have you back on again soon.
All right.
Yeah.
Don't forget about me now that I'm just not traveling and not on the sidelines.
Not at all.
It's fine.
You're not
We
yelling at
understand
me
now.
on the
We
sideline.
thought it was
before a
us. We
game.
thought it was us. We thought you were done with us.
Yeah.
God, I'm sick of seeing these same people out at these things all the time.
I know. Showing up at the hotels, they're everywhere.
God,
No,
goodness, they're everywhere. They're
No,
out front of the stadium when we're getting in there. What is happening?
Oh man, it's brutal. No, thanks for having me on. I appreciate all your support through the years. I know you guys are always, you always, whatever, read, comment, like, and all that stuff. I don't take that for granted. I don't take it lightly. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for the fan base as well. So again, thanks for having me on.
Thank you. Appreciate
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks, Matt.
Yeah.
Have a good night.
Okay, good night.
Take care.
All right. Matt Maiocco, NBC Sports Bay Area. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Indeed.
All right. So before we get out of here, let's talk some Titans. We are 44-19 coming off the bye. I'm so glad the bye week is over with. And we can move on with some 49ers football. Matt, your game plan against these Titans.
The same as it is right now. Run that offense through Christian McCaffrey and George Kittle. More Jake Tongas this week. Okay. I don't expect to. I don't think you're gonna see Kyle Juszczyk this week. Honestly, I think this is a.
No.
I think this is a bye
That's too
a bye
scary.
week for the Juszczyks. Which is fine. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you play the long game. The only thing I'm ever concerned about in something like this is coming out flat after a week off like that. You saw a lot of guys, out in wherever, ocean, here, there, everywhere, doing their stuff, right? You know how things are when you come back from work. Sometimes you're on it. Sometimes things go a little haywire, right? And the Titans actually have a little bit of confidence after last week. They played some pretty good football out in Cleveland. And you know what? They scored a hell of a lot more points against that Cleveland defense than the 49ers did just a couple of weeks
Sure
ago.
did.
Yeah.
Okay? Not to get all,
Yeah.
not to pee on the parade too much here. But yeah, like Cam Ward and Tony Pollard, Tony Pollard did a lot more than Christian McCaffrey did against them. You know what I mean? So, and I think highly enough for Christian McCaffrey that, if you watch football around the league this year, scoring's down. And the fact that the 49ers are 9-4 in basically a similar situation where they were last year, where they kind of lost everybody, shows you the difference in having Christian McCaffrey on the field as opposed to not, because they don't know how to run the offense without Christian McCaffrey in it. And last year and this year has kind of showed you that, right? But Tennessee is one of those teams where, like, they don't have anything to lose, right? A lot of these guys are still playing for jobs. Like, they want to get picked up next year. Cam Ward wants to develop, man. And he's got some young receivers. That kid from
Yeah,
Stanford,
yeah.
Ayamanar, like, no thank you.
Yeah.
DK, no thank you. Chigakwanko, no thank you. Like, there's some talent on that offense. If they ever get unlocked, goodness gracious, they get somebody in there like a Ben Johnson-y type who kind of knows what's going on. Right? Yeah, the Jaguars and the Texans have shown you how quick you can turn things around in the AFC South. So,
Yeah.
this is not a game to come in and take lightly. I think this is going to be a lot closer than I think a lot of people are going to expect it to be.
Mhm.
Dina, what do you think?
That's right, Dawn.
Yeah. Hi, Don. Yeah, I agree. I don't take them lightly, and they have been scoring points. They're not a team that everyone, looks at per se, but they've been like really hitting the mark with their defense, with their offensive line. I don't take them lightly. I think they're going to give us a run for our money, but in the grand scheme of things, we got it. But I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I don't think I would like it to be a low scoring game. Nothing above 28. But yeah, I would not take them lightly, and they have a lot. They're like a sleeper team. You know, they will catch up with you in a minute when you least expect it. You know, it's like the Titans did what? You know, a lot of people were surprised with that Cleveland game. a lot. So, Bebop, my love. Hey,
what up?
It's my man. Don't mess with my man.
We got to get you guys together, like out, like
Yeah.
like on a road
Yeah.
trip. Like we got to get like an ECRG get together at some point with some folks.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. So I wouldn't
Definitely a
sleep
good
on
idea.
him. Yeah.
I actually don't think the game is going to be close. I don't think they are overlooking the Titans by any means, because we've seen in this, during this year, certain teams playing other teams and the upsets and stuff like that. But I don't think this is going to be close. I think this 49ers team, there's a different feel to this team than there was last season. And we've spoke about this, that last season they seem to have found a way to lose. This season is very different. And I think that the fact that we are 44-19 coming off the bye, I think that helps. And I think that, the players obviously know, the situation with the seeding and stuff like that. So, I think it's full steam ahead, starting on Sunday. Ty, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's it's playoff football time. From mid-November on, it's like this is real football. I said that a few weeks ago. The Titans had their bye mid-November, and since then they've been playing some inspired football. Right? Every game except for one has been close. So they've been battling. We just saw Houston knock off the Chiefs yesterday. Well, the Titans battled them to the wire.
Yeah.
Right. And we saw them battle last week to the wire. This is kind of who they are now. They don't know what they don't know. They're so young. They're just out there playing.
Mm-hmm.
So they're playing some inspired football for them right now. Not really winning, but they're competing at a high level. Right. So
they're
for
playing
us,
Brian Hoyer football, right? You're not going to win, but damn it, you're going to make it close.
Yeah, exactly.
You're gonna look good.
Yeah, exactly. We'll put on
I
a good
didn't mean
show
to catch
for
you with that one. That was very Terry Tate office linebacker there with Brian Hoyer. But yeah.
So for us, it's just how we come out. Last year we came out after our bye week, and we came out kind of flat. It wasn't very inspiring, right? That game against the Bucs was like blah. I think we have to come out with some fire like we've done in the past and let this team know, like, hey, we understand you're fired up and playing well, but you're not on our level.
Right.
So we got to continue what we've been doing the past couple of weeks. Play 49ers football, play sound, hard nose, and like put this team to bed early. Right? Don't let them linger. Come out, get up 14 zip in the first quarter, 21 zip first half, something like that. Let them know, hey, this is the real deal football here. Right? And just keep that momentum going.
McCaffrey and Kittle touchdowns in the first quarter, right? 14-0, end of
Feed
one.
the beast.
Right.
Don't change the thing.
14-0, end of one, and then you come out in the second quarter, and it's a steady diet of CMC and Brian Robinson Jr. through the rest of the game. And then it's a salty, lazy, 31-7, 31-13 sort of win, right?
Yeah.
And then you get ready next week for the Sunday nighter against Chicago. Excuse me. Yeah.
It's the Colts.
No, it's the
Colts
Monday
first.
nighter against Indy.
Monday.
Yeah.
It's the Monday night against Indy first. Yeah.
Which I have to fly on Spirit Airlines for. God help me.
Oh Lord.
$125 round trip from Newark to Indianapolis.
They're not that bad.
$125. As long as they're not putting me in the cargo hold. Let's go. Get it.
Ty, I'm gonna ask you X factors.
Oh, I'm gonna say Jake Tonjes, Brian Robinson Jr. It's weird, Matt. I was thinking about some stuff, and all year long, you've been saying like, get him on the field at the same time, get him on the field at the same time. Brian Robinson Jr., CMC, and that very first play of the Cleveland game, where Juice came out B gap, Brock hit him for a big play. That's an old Bill Walsh play.
Yes.
The only difference is that Kyle Shanahan put Kyle Juszczyk in motion instead of having him stand static in the backfield. That was the
Yes.
only wrinkle in the play design. And I'm like, man, if he could really do that a lot more often and really take advantage of these defenses. And maybe we'll see more of that. Now that Juszczyk is hurt, maybe he'll use some Brian Robinson Jr. out there and mix things up. I don't know. Just wishful thinking, right? So I'm going to go there. But I will say Brian Robinson Jr. and Jake Tonjes on offense as X factors, because I think they'll get a lot more playing time. And on defense, I'm just looking at those young defensive linemen. They were looking very hungry and promising last game, and I think they feed off that, and it continues.
Dina, what do you think?
Definitely. Defense, they're hungry. And also they're gutsy. They do a lot of things that you don't expect. As far as the offense goes, I'm looking to see more of Kittle and Juwan Jennings. That's what I'm looking for.
Can I say something real quick?
Go ahead.
I think so.
I'll cut you off, Dina. I want to cut Matt off. When Matt was talking about, Brock Purdy canning to that play. No offense.
It's like that. Okay. All right,
bro. We're on here every week. We don't have him a lot. So, when he was talking about Brock Purdy canning to that play where he hit Kittle, he was like, what did you see? I think he saw George Kittle one-on-one with some little defensive back and was like, oh, this is easy money.
Can't
guard him. Can this play? Can everything. Hold everything. I got George automatic here.
Right.
Just as yelling at me right now. Can. Let's do it. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, now I lost my train of thought, but yeah, exactly.
You're welcome. Yeah.
I was around that play.
No, I was looking at there's a series of plays with Kittle carrying people into the end zone, carrying people down the field, and it was not just one person. It was like 2, 3, and sometimes 4, and he's still moving. So I want to see that. And like I said, as far as defense, they're hungry. They're hungry. And I know our special teams. Ooh. I want to see that movement again from special teams. Luter. Oh my God.
Sky Moore.
Yeah, thank you. Okay. I don't have enough wine in my glass.
Pinheiro is 100% healthy coming back.
Yeah, now I heard something weird today. I don't know if it's true. They released Matt Gay.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's because ADP is coming back this week. That's why I asked if he's healthy. With an ode to last year with the Jake Moody high ankle sprain, which clearly affected him. So
right.
Hold on.
I was wondering.
Big difference. Big difference. Remember last year during the bye week, everybody wanted a certain coach gone.
Yes. Yeah.
This year during the bye week, we're celebrating a certain coach.
It's a coach, right?
They both coach the same positions.
Yep.
So,
isn't it? Yeah.
So I don't think this year's coach is going to be making the boneheaded mistake that last year's coach made. Yeah.
Also, God blessed be the Sky Moore at this point, right? Like, goodness gracious.
Maddie, your X factors.
Sky Moore, like the injection of offense that dude has been having lately has been unbelievable.
Yes.
And when you look around the league, special teams, fun fact, special teams around the league, not that hot. Okay. So having an advantage on special teams.
Yes.
You're already up 5 to 10% over everybody else, right? Like legit. So that's really good news. And there's a little bit more consistency. Yeah, they did have another injury, but they didn't have 100 different injuries, right? Like,
Right.
there's been some consistency. Brock continues to get a little bit healthier. The offensive line gets a little healthier. I think you're going to see a little bit more Ricky Pearsall this week too. I think
That would be
uh,
great.
I think uh, I think it's time for him to kind of. He's getting to a put up or shut up a point, right? Like he's getting dangerously close to if he doesn't figure it out before the end of the year. The preseason articles about him next year are going to be he's put on 10 pounds of muscle and he looks really good and he looks really focused going into his third year. And that's what you're going to hear in every single 49ers preview post that you could possibly look for. But he has a chance to turn it around. He's got that competitive mentality. I just think he's some of those injuries, like they can be medically cleared, but I just don't think you get back to where you were right away. Right. And a lot of these receivers are having to get themselves going on the fly again. So
See,
imagine what next year is going to be like with a functioning wide receiver core, right? But in the meantime, you hope for what you can get. I think Ricky Pearsall will be there. And defensively, Yatir Gross Matos, I believe is he's back healthy. Him and Bryce
My
Huff,
man.
like like they can cause some damage together. They're not Nick Bosa by any means, which I totally understand. But at the same time, you can create damage multiple ways with a defense, especially when you have a defensive
Yeah.
coordinator like Robert Saleh. Just please don't do so well that people think they can hire Robert Saleh to be a head coach, because I just think that's a bad idea.
I hope Gross Matos is back, although people are saying that because he was on IR or he is on IR. So if they were going to open his window, they would have done it yesterday because they opened Curtis Rourke's window, even though he's not playing this year. So I guess we'll see tomorrow.
They wanted the Curtis Rourke
Matos.
Indiana vibes. So yeah, if it's not Yatir Gross Matos, then it's definitely going to be on Bryce Huff at that. Bryce Huff and Cleveland Farrell, baby. Like, let's go ride the Farrell train.
All right, my X factors on the defense, it's the secondary. And then on the offense, I am going with George Kittle. I know that's a surprise to you guys.
This is why we don't take him. It's just fine.
Perish the thought.
And I'm also going with all the coaches because I think the coaching, all the coaches, Chris Kosarek, Forster, all of them.
Congrats to Amy, by the way.
Yes. Because going forward, I think coaching is going to be extra important to get to where we want to go. So on that note, let's go to the 2-minute warning. And Ty, you're up.
Hey man, we're finally back. And some real deal football's happening now. So buckle your seatbelts and support the team. You know, root them on, whether you're at home or in the stadium. Just stay faithful and stay in it. And just focus on them, not anyone else. Go Niners.
Maddie?
I'll second that, but I will say that make sure you're paying attention around the league to anything that benefits the 49ers and root for that. So, you know, if the Rams are playing somebody, we want them to lose. If the Rams are playing the Seahawks, we want them to beat the crap out of each other and probably play a full overtime. Okay. You know, things that, you know,
change
kick
the
a
rules.
field goal, kick a field goal, go all the way to the end, right? Run the clock, all the way down. Like we want chaos, root for that chaos.
And mayhem.
Yeah.
That's right.
49ers take care of everything else. Let the chaos take care of itself on the outside.
Yeah, Dina.
Yeah, stay faithful. We're, like Ty said, we're back, but we're also ready. We're hungry. And, you know, watch the games, support, cheer, find soft things to throw at your television just in case. I have plenty. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting matchup these last few games. And I'm just like excited again. I can't explain it. It's like my momentum has increased. I mean, I'm always going to support my team, but it's just like, yee! I can't wait till the next game. Yay.
Well, Brandon Allen's not a quarterback anymore, so I can understand why that might perk us up just a little bit.
Yeah, that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you to Matt Maiocco.
Yes.
Always great having him on. Shout out to the chat. You guys are awesome as usual. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't already. I know it is Tuesday. We are back next week on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Enjoy the game, everybody. As Ty and Dina said, stay faithful. And as always, go Niners. And we'll see you next week.
And of course, for the upstart 49ers, they're 6 yards away from Pontiac. 3rd and 3.
We'll see a pickup sometime on the right side, possibly.
Montana looking, throwing in the end zone.